Okay, so we'll start. So the next topic is sociology as science. Okay, so we are moving to the second chapter. So the second chapter is where we are actually moving to the theoretical part. Some core sociology we will be seeing here. Tham first aano irikkunna. Okay, so sociology as science. Okay, so this is the second chapter. So we start with the debate whether sociology is a science or not. This is the ultimate discussion. When sociology emerged, that time onwards this discussion is there. Why? Initial sociologists wanted to make it similar to natural science. Even you remember Saint-Simon, we discussed, he wanted to make it similar to social physics. Right, that is a subject which is analogous to natural science physics. So that time onwards this discussion is there. And if you remember Herbert Spencer, what we have seen, compared society with an organism. So there is an organismic analogy we have seen, something which is connected with biology. So the orientation of initial sociologists is to make sociology similar to natural science. Why? Why everyone was so fascinated about science? Science is what everyone believes, right? If you need to get an initial legitimacy, there's a new subject. So when sociology came, it's a very fresh new discipline. So if you want to get that acceptance, if you want to get that, legitimacy, so you need to claim that it is science, and you need to claim that it is scientific. The method of inquiry is scientific. The subject matter, the way it is studied, also scientific, right? So that is why the initial sociologist wanted to make sociology similar to science. Now the question is, can we consider sociology as science? So right from the beginning, this question is there, this debate is there. What is the reason why this debate is there? Because initial sociologists wanted to make it similar to science, and they started using the methods also from science. For example, we will be studying multiple theories, and you see like statistical techniques, right? This is like a quantitative techniques in terms of numbers. This is one of the classical method that you'll be seeing when we study Durkheim. His theory of suicide will study that. So you want to make it similar to science, so you simply borrowed the methods from science and you started applying it in sociology. Will that going to be work out easily? It is not going to be easily possible, right? The reason also we discussed. Why? Natural science is dealing with matter. Matter means it could be, it is some objects which do not have consciousness, right? As I told you, if water boiled at 100 degrees Celsius, we know what is going to happen. We can predict that. So there is no consciousness. You do this action, the outcome is predictable. You freeze it at 0 degrees Celsius, you know what is going to happen. So since the subject matter you are dealing with do not have consciousness, you can objectively study, you can predict its behavior, you can expect the outcomes, everything is very clear. So that is science. But when it comes to sociology, what is your subject matter? Human beings, right? But human beings have consciousness, right? Different human beings interpret things differently. You may see this class in a way, the other person will see in a different way, right? The interpretations is different. The meanings generated by human beings will be different. The consciousness of human beings is different. The emotions of human beings will be different. The actions of human beings will be different. So, since sociology is dealing with human beings who have consciousness, can we predict the action? Can you even predict what I'm going to do in the next moment? No, right? You cannot predict what kind of action the other person, even your close friend or your family member, will do. So in that case, how can you predict society? So can you consider sociology as science? So this is the question. So are we ready with the context now? Okay, so what should be your first line in your answer? Again, since it's the second chapters, you'll always have to write about emergence of sociology in one line. So you'll simply say, sociology emerged in response to challenges posed before modernity in medieval Europe. So you talk about medieval Europe, the moment I write medieval Europe, I'm talking about 15th to 18th century, that part is covered. And modernity I've mentioned the challenges of modernity, and then as a response to that, sociology emerged. So that's your first line, because you covered almost everything. And then you write, since its emergence, initial sociologists wanted to make it similar to natural science to get that acceptance, to get that legitimacy, right? So to get that authenticity, or to get that authority, whatever language is comfortable for you, just need one or two words to tell that point. So initial sociologists wanted to do this. But over a period of time, it is understood what sociology is studying human beings, or you can simply say, you don't want to say it is understood or anything, you can say objections were raised over a period of time from other sides, that sociology is studying human beings. Science is studying matter. Matter do not have they don't have life, they don't have consciousness. We cannot say don't have life, because biology is also studying something which have bias, but they don't have consciousness, right? But when it comes to sociology, human beings are studied. Human beings have consciousness. Based on that, you take action, which cannot be predicted. Okay, so the objections were raised with respect to its subject matter, with respect to the use of methods. So if this is the case, can we use methods similar to natural science and sociology? There are limitations. We are not saying completely you cannot use. There are survey method we can use, quantitative methods we can use to an extent, but completely may not be possible. There are limitations. Why limitation? Because of the subject matter itself. Are you with me so far? Okay, so this is the context. Sociology emerged. Initial sociologists wanted to make it similar to natural science, and they used methods also similar to natural science. They did it to get that initial acceptance, legitimacy, etc. Over a period of time, objections were raised with respect to its subject matter, with respect to the method of inquiry, with respect to the methods used, and there were comparisons came, right? One is studying matter, the other is studying human being. So how can you use the methods used here? Okay, now what we need is, if I need to answer this question, first I need to understand what is science. Yes or no? Right, so we need to tell what exactly you mean by science. Right? So that time, we are talking about 19th century. 19th century, science is understood in terms of body of knowledge. Means what you study. What you study need to be objective. What you are studying need to be empirical, and the method you are using is inductive. Something I've mentioned, but we have not completed what is inductive. So there's a condition. Any body of knowledge which satisfy the condition of empiricism. Empiricism means observable reality. Can we observe human consciousness? No. Can we observe water? Yes. You got the difference, right? So when I say empirical reality means some observable reality. So one of the condition was that, so empiricism and inductivism. Inductivism is a method of theory building. When I say inductivism, the opposite is deductivism. This is a separate topic for you. This I will have to do in the third chapter, but I'll give you a glimpse of it now. So when I say inductive approach, means how you have done in your plus 2, most of you are science students, you have done some physics experiments. So what you do, you go to the lab, you conduct some study, you take down some data based on some instruments you are doing, right? So you collect the data and then you analyze the data. You might have made some graphs, diagrams, interpretations, and finally you write in your project report also, right? So this is how you study. That's inductive approach. Collect data which is quantitative in numbers, quantitative in nature, means in terms of numbers. You collect the data and then interpret the data and make the observation, draw the diagram, flow chart, whatever, and make a conclusion. So basically you had a theory, you are proving that in your lab. But in this case, you are conducting an investigation right from the beginning and you are making a theory. So this process, making a theory from the scratch by collecting data, observe the data. For example, let's say this area is accident prone. Now I want to study this. I want to come with a conclusion. I want to come with a theory. Why these accidents are happening. So this turning point we can take. Okay, so what I'll do, if I need to follow a quantitative approach or inductive approach, I collect all the accidents happened here over the last year. Right? And then I take different parameters into consideration. It could be bar is here. So one relation you can make over there, or I want to see how much during monsoon time because of rain. I also need to take into consideration school is there, because there can be some careless driving, students may jump, and to prevent that also some accidents can happen. So I take multiple parameters. You got my point? So I collect the number of accidents, I collect the number of deaths, I collect the number of injuries, I collect the number of evidences, whatever I have, I collect multiple reasons, and then I analyze. I'll make diagrams, graphs, or interpretations, and then I conclude, and then I come with a proper conclusion. I may simply come with a conclusion that that turning is not correct. If something can change there, then it will be correct. Or the bar is the issue. I need to remove that from here. So whatever, I'll come up with a conclusion. So this is what the inductive approach. Starting from the scratch, take the data. That data should be in numbers. Quantitative approach, I follow, I come with a theory. Opposite is what deductive approach. In deductive approach, so here there is an objectivity, right? Because I collected data, based on the data, I come with the analysis. So there is an object, there is no personal bias. I am not forming my opinion before that. I got the data, I got number of accidents during monsoon, I got number of data for accidents happening after 7 o'clock. That could be because of alcoholism. So I collect all these data, based on that I'll analyze. That is to an extent objective, right? There is no personal bias. Whatever I collected, look at the data, just interpret the data, make the conclusion. I'm not saying X is the reason, or I'm not framing in mind also before that. But when it comes to deductive approach, there I make a hypothesis. First, I'll make a hypothesis, I'll make an understanding, there is a bar, this is the reason. And then I will collect the data. So when I do that, what can happen? I'll be more biased towards my own interpretation. So I'll try to collect those data which favor my conclusion. Yes or no? Right? So deductive approaches, first theory or hypothesis, you go and prove it with the data. Inductive approaches, from the data, you go and make the theory, which is more scientific. Inductive is more scientific. So science used inductive approach. Okay? And that's why initial sociologists, they tell to use scientific approach, which is inductive approach. Later sociologists will tell, for sociology, deductive approach is even better, or both can be used. Combination. So far, are you okay? Okay. So we discussed about emergence, we discussed about that initial sociologist orientation, we discussed about the aspect of debate, that is the subject matter. Sociology study human beings who have consciousness. Matter on the other side do not have consciousness. Behavior of matter can be predicted. I can establish cause and effect. If I boil water, I can expect what is the outcome, the effect. But if I boil a human being, can I expect how he react? Right? Different people will react differently. Yes or no? So that is the discussion. So that's the context of debate. Now let's try to understand science. Science in the beginning is understood like this, whatever I told you, in terms of a body of knowledge. Any body of knowledge, if satisfy conditions of empiricism, inductivism, it is considered as science. But later, when with the intellectual development, it's not about a body of knowledge. It's about method of inquiry. Means it's not about what it is. It's about how. If your investigations are done based on reason, based on evidence, if it is logically done, then it can be treated as scientific. So the question is how you have done the inquiry, how you studied. If that is based on logic, reason, evidence, you can substantiate, then that can be considered as scientific. So I'm just saying this, just understand this point now. When we write, everything will be very clear. So understand this now. Science is initially understood in terms of a body of knowledge, what you are going to study. Science later understood as how you study. If the investigations are done in a logical way, reasoned way, with proper evidence and reason, then that can be considered as science. So both are different. So if I'm saying what is studied, based on that, if you need to judge sociology as a science or not, sociology can never be a science. Why? Because what is studied in sociology? Human consciousness, human meanings, human emotions. You can never treat sociology as science. But if the question is about how it is studied, then in sociology we study with proper reason, proper evidence, proper logic. That is something which can be considered as scientific. In that case, sociology can be considered as science. In that case, but not similar to natural science. That I'll tell you in conclusion. Sociology is never similar to natural science. Sociology is a social science because method of inquiry is scientific. The way you study your subject matter, the subject matter itself is not science, but the way you study is scientific because we use methods, we use reason, we use evidence, we have logical reasoning, we have methods. So the way you study is scientific. Therefore, you consider it's a scientific discipline, but not similar to natural science like physics or chemistry or biology. It's a social science. Is it science? Yes. Is it similar to natural science? No. It's a social science. It's a scientific discipline. Why it is scientific discipline? Because of the method of inquiry is scientific. Right? So this is the ultimate points that you need to write. Now in between, we need to define science. Okay, so I told you already, initially it is like what is studied. In that case, sociology can never be science. Later understanding is how it is studied. In that case, then only we have a possibility of discussion itself. If the definition of science is what is studied, it need to be empirical, it need to be inductive, then the debate is stopped there itself. Sociology can never be a science. But if we treat a body of knowledge to be scientific on the basis of this, if the method of inquiry is scientific or not. So in sociology, the method of inquiry is scientific. There are thinkers, there are theories, there are methods specifically devised for sociology. All these we are going to learn. In that context, we have a scope for debate. Now what we need to consider is, what are the arguments? What are the arguments in favor of sociology being science? What are the arguments against sociology being science? So what we need now, what are the favorable arguments, what are the arguments against, and then we need a balanced conclusion. Conclusion is already clear now. We will say sociology is a science. Definitely sociology is a science. But we'll again have to be stressing on this point. It's never similar to natural science. It's a social science. Why? Because method of inquiry is scientific. Not in terms of body of knowledge, but in terms of how it is studied. Cool. So now, science. You just need to remember 4 points for science. I'll explain that. First, 4 conditions or 4 characteristics. So the first is inter-subject reliability and quantifiability. Third is objectivity. Fourth is theoretical orientation. Theory building you can write. Theoretical orientation. So, okay, these 4 is enough now. Later we can add reliability, validity, and all those elements we can add. But let's try to understand these 4 elements now. See, these are the 4 conditions for any body of knowledge to become scientific. Okay, now I'll explain these four. I know you didn't understood this, so I'll explain each of these four. First, let's understand what are these four, and then what we need to do, we need to see whether sociology possesses these characteristics. What are the arguments in favor of sociology being science? Then we need to see what are the arguments against sociology being science, and then we conclude. So guys, when I say inter-subject reliability means across the subject, the meanings should be same. So if I talk about family, if I talk about family in sociology also, in political science also, in history also, in philosophy also, is there a different meaning when I say family here, when I say family there? No, the meaning is same, right? So that's what I mean by inter-subject reliability. So across the subject, the meaning should be, when I say oxygen, is there a different meaning for oxygen in physics and chemistry and biology? It is the same, right? That's what I mean by inter-subject reliability. Across the subject, the meaning should be same. So inter-subject reliability you understood. Now whether sociology possesses inter-subject reliability, that is a question that we'll answer. There we can discuss arguments in favor and against. This point is clear, right? Inter-subject reliability, what do you mean by this? Clear or not? Okay. Next one, quantifiability. Quantifiability means you should be in a position to quantify what you study. Means the scope need to be defined very clearly. So we know when we say physics, there is a clear-cut scope. Physics never go to biology. The subject matter of physics is different, biology is different. Biology never go to physics. So there is a clear-cut definition, clear-cut distinction also between this. What you are studying, the scope is very clear. That's what I mean by quantifiability. Okay, the scope need to be defined. What you are studying, the subject matter, the scope need to be very, very clearly defined. That's what quantifiability. Are you okay with this? Quantifiability means no need to write now. I will make you write everything. Okay. Third is objectivity. Objectivity means what? There should not be any personal bias. When I conduct investigation, there should not be any personal bias. Okay, so I have given multiple examples. In case of studies done in physics or biology, there is no need of such kind of personal bias. But the problem with sociology is if I am conducting a study on domestic violence, can there be a scope for personal bias? If a female is conducting a study on domestic violence, there will be bias with her experience, her friend's experience. Similarly, a male is conducting study, different it is. Right? If you look at history, see why history is biased towards male. Most of the historians are male, right? So it's history. Don't you think that Indian history is male dominated? Contribution of female very less. Is it because contribution is less, or is it because historians are mostly male? Why history is North Indian dominated? Don't you think so? North Indian dominated? Can you see any big names like Nehru or Bose, etc. in South India? No. It's definitely North dominated. Why? Majority of the historians are North Indians. Why history is upper caste dominated? Majority of the historians are from upper caste. They don't talk about Dalits or they don't talk about Shudras. Clear? So this is what I mean by subject. Objectivity, subjectivity. Objectivity means there won't be any bias. Right? So objectivity will be clearly there in natural science, but there are issues in sociology. Did you got what I mean by objectivity? Objectivity means non-biased, unbiased, value-free. Technically, I'll come later because that's a topic for us. Even all these are topics for us separately. Okay, last one is easy. Theoretical orientation means you need to have theories. You need to make theories. Okay, now let's start with the first one. Do we have, the question is, now we need to write separately arguments in favor, arguments against. So, do we have inter-subject reliability? To an extent it is there, right? So some concepts like family, religion, politics all have the same meaning across subjects. So sociology possesses, we can say, considerable amount of inter-subject reliability, if not fully. We can say considerable amount of inter-subject reliability. So that first condition is satisfied. Quantifiability. The scope of sociology is defined or not? Yes, quantifiability limitation is there, but scope is defined according to Weber. social action. According to Durkheim, social facts, even the extreme abstract forms of social facts, he tried to quantify that. When you study Durkheim, you will understand. So to an extent, this also correct. Scope is defined, but of course, scope is unlimited for sociology, unlike any other subject, but to an extent it is defined. You can simply say Weber defines scope in terms of social action, Durkheim defines scope in terms of social facts. So to an extent it is correct. Objectivity. Now there are some sentences that you will have to reproduce exactly the way I tell you, and the same will come in your notes also. See, this is one such sentence. Absolute objectivity. No sir, 100% objectivity. Is it possible in sociology? It is never possible. Why? Human beings studying human beings. It's not machine studying human beings. It's not AI studying human beings. So human being studying human being, definitely 100% is not possible. Is it desirable in sociology? It is basically not desirable also, because that is very clear. So absolute objectivity is neither possible nor desirable in sociology. You know who said this? Weber told us. So we can easily quote, according to Weber, absolute possibility is neither possible nor desirable. What we need to do then? We just need to ensure maximum possible objectivity. Just that we should not be biased. For example, if I teach you, I should not be biased towards anyone. That's the best I can do. Otherwise, human beings have consciousness. They judge people also differently, right? Just that you should, to the maximum possible, you should not be biased. What the judges will do in court also, why different judges come with the different judgments in the same case? It is again personal biases there. There is no such one single objective principle to decide that. Okay. So in sociology now we are writing arguments 4. So what you will write? Though absolute objectivity is neither possible nor desirable, but in sociology we try to ensure maximum possible objectivity by using various methods with trained investigator, like that. So we are saying that we are trying to ensure maximum possible. This is the best we can do. We are doing the best that we can do in this. So third element also we have written 4. Right? So you understood 4 elements of science. We have given arguments 4, sociology being science. Now theoretical orientation, you are going to study n number of theories. It's right from next chapter, stratification, to thinkers. Marx, you're going to see 4 theories. Durkheim, you're going to see 4 theories. Weber, you're going to see 4 theories, and you're going to study at least 20 theories. So you can write n number of examples here. There are enough theories in sociology. So there is no question about, whether theory is there or not. So 4 conditions we discussed for a body of knowledge to become scientific, or science is understood if it is following this 4 conditions, and these are the 4 arguments in favor of sociology being science. Write this much. Right. Start with a question. Start with a couple of questions. Direct question can be sociology as science. 3 questions you need to write, and then we will sociology as science. First question. Second question. Sociology emerged as a scientific discipline. Sociology emerged as a scientific discipline. Inverted comma lana. Sociology emerged as a scientific discipline. Actually, emergence of sociology, we discuss the same. Sociology emerged as scientific discipline to explain the changes, provide the solution, to predict the future of society. So you got a statement. Now what they do is, they'll ask you, discuss the statement in the light of the debate. Discuss the statement in the light of the debate whether sociology is a science or not. Whether sociology is a science or not. Answer is going to be same for all these questions, okay? Now the third question, give arguments for and against sociology being a scientific discipline. Sociology being a scientific discipline. So we need to give arguments for and against for sociology being a scientific discipline. Sociology scientific discipline ആവുന്നതിന് ഫോർ ആയിട്ടുള്ള അതുപോലെ അഗൻസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ആർഗ്യുമെന്റ്സ് കൊടുക്കാനായിട്ട് അതാണ് നമ്മൾ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്നത്. ഫോർ ആണ് നമ്മളിപ്പോൾ ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തത്, അഗൻസ്റ്റ് ഇപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് അത് കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്യാം. Next, one more question. Is sociology a science? Can be like that also. Is sociology a science? Is sociology a science? See guys, in all these cases, answer is same. Right, what you need to do, I'll repeat again the structure. You will have to tell the emergence of sociology. Sociology emerged in response to challenges posed before modernity in medieval Europe, and then you tell the orientation of initial sociologists that they wanted to make it similar to natural science to get that initial acceptance or legitimacy, and then came the debate with respect to the nature of sociology, the methods used in sociology, whether sociology is science or not, or the questions were arised with respect to using methods of natural science in sociology directly, or should you discover some new methods for sociology? And then this is the aspect of debate, and then explain what is science. Initially science is understood in terms of body of knowledge, later science is understood more in terms of method of inquiry, and there are conditions laid down for any body of knowledge to become scientific. These are the four conditions. Now write arguments for, arguments against, and then we need a balance. What is a balanced conclusion? Sociology is a science but not similar to natural science. It's a social science because of the method of inquiry is scientific. Okay, start writing. The first line I'm not writing here, I'll continue from the second line only because you will write that. Okay. The orientation of initial sociologist. The orientation of initial sociologist. Guys, ഒരു കാര്യം, in case if you find it difficult, this, see the other classes you are getting in Malayalam, right? This one is watched by other people from the other states also, and for us, for GS, other faculties are also there. You can see their videos. So Malayalam, what we are doing is, other faculties will teach you in Malayalam. Sociology, if you need in Malayalam, there is another faculty, we have done that, and it is there in your portal. You will be getting that in case if there is a problem, right? But I have to go like this because it's used by others also, across the states also, other students also. So I'm saying this again because there is no way I can do it, but the same class, it's done by another faculty, previous faculty of this academy, that is complete recording is there. You will be able to get that. In case if you're not able to follow, any difficulties there, get that and get it done. Right from the first topic itself, you'll be getting it completely. Okay, I'll give that access also. I'll tell them to give that access. So even otherwise also in your portal, if you see GS, you'll see faculties from Delhi only taking the classes. The same geography, history, whatever you are discussed in Malayalam, you'll be getting in English also. The best, that's the best of the classes. Right? What's that actually? That portion is what is required, not... Okay, so... And there is the orientation of initial sociologist was to develop sociology on the lines similar to natural sciences. On the lines similar to develop sociology on the lines similar to natural sciences. The orientation of initial sociologist was to develop sociology on the lines similar to natural sciences. See again, let me tell you, I'm making it very compressed, I'm making it very precise so that your effort will come down. If I want to add, I can add here that initially Saint Simon thought of social physics and all those things we discussed before, right? To substantiate this I can add, but will you be able to write that in exam? No, understanding part is already done. So the more you compress, the better it is. Even then we have around 400 words after we complete this. But again I'm repeating, will you be able to write that? You can write only 150 to 170. If it is to 20 marker, then 230, 240. Max. Maybe 200 words itself will be difficult for 20 mark sometimes. Okay. Next sentence. The scientific revolutions in the field of astronomy, medical sciences, physics and biology led intellectuals to dream of a discipline which could generate similar universal laws of social organization. Full stop. Just write one line there. Saint Simon even dreamt of social physics. Initially we discussed this in modernity emergence. Saint Simon before Auguste Comte. Okay, Saint Simon even dreamt of social physics. Next sentence. Auguste Comte. AUGUSTE പുതിയ ആൾക്കാർക്കാണ്. Auguste Comte. Whenever you write Auguste Comte, for the first time just put a comma and write father of sociology. Claimed to have developed universal laws of LAWS, laws of social organizations. Next sentence. Similarly, Herbert Spencer Herbert Spencer's organismic analogy. What is that? Compare society with an organism, right? Organism and then organs. Societies, subsystems, right? And then tissues and cells. So that level of division, right? Society, subsystem, groups, individual. That comparison we discussed. The organismic analogy was guided by the same assumption. Full stop. As sociology developed, questions were raised on the possibility of employing basic assumptions of natural science in sociology. മനസ്സിലായോ ആ sentence? What is it saying? Okay, sociology emerged. Initially it's okay, you borrowed methods from natural science, but when it started developing, then started raising the questions. Can you use the assumptions of natural science in sociology or not? Can you use the methods borrowed from there in sociology or not? Because the subject matter of both are entirely different. Okay, Next paragraph. Objections were raised on the validity of the universal laws developed by initial sociologist. Okay, see what you're saying is, when I told you theoretical orientation, I told you there are universal laws in sociology also. But have you ever heard any such universal laws? When we say Newton's laws, first law, second law, third law, laws of thermodynamics, etc., we have seen, and these are universal, and we know that, and applied also, and in our daily life also we are applying the same in terms of engines, in terms of whatever activities we do. These are universal laws, there is no question about that. But any such laws in sociology? No. In fact, previously I have mentioned Auguste Comte's universal law. That is also all rejected. These are not universally applicable. Now, why it is not universally applicable? Because human beings are different across the world. Societies are different. Indian society and European society is different. So the law that you make there and here, with respect to marriage itself, right? Marriage here is different. Marriage in US is different. Family here is different. Family there is different. Religion here is different. Religion there is different. Individuals here is different. Individuals there is different. So is there a possibility of universal law? No. But when it comes to, gravity, it is the same everywhere. Okay, that's the point. This initiated a debate on the nature of sociology. This initiated the debate on the nature of sociology. That is sociology a science or not? Write in inverted comma. Is sociology a science or not? Okay, so this is the context. Now guys, again, I think you have written around 80 to 100 words. But how much you can write from this is 20 to 30 words. You need to again compress to 1/3 of it. Because now only we are going to write what is science. We only told you the context so far. Now we need to define what is science, what's the initial understanding of science, what is the later understanding of science, what are the conditions of science. At least in one line you need to explain all of this, if not in paragraph. And then I need to write arguments in favor of science for all these 4, arguments against for all these 4. Then itself 150, 170 is over. Right? This 4 I need to explain. So at least 4 sentences. 4 arguments in favor, 4 sentences. 4 arguments against, 4 sentences. 12 sentences is over. Now science also I need to explain at least in 2 sentences. So 14, 15 sentences is over. In 10 marker you can write only 10, 12 sentences. Not beyond that. So that's the problem. So again, we need to compress as much as possible. But I don't want to leave the content also. That is why this much is given. Rest is something which you need to do during revision, that keywords, etc. Okay. Next paragraph. We are going to now talk about science. Okay. The roots of this debate are located in the basic understanding of the term science. During 19th century, the conception of science mainly draw from natural sciences. Conception of science is mainly draw from natural sciences. Full stop. A body of knowledge a body of knowledge, was considered as science, only if it yields universal laws, underline cheyana, universal laws, yields universal laws, and conforms to the ideals of empiricism and inductivism. So when I say empiricism means observable reality. Inductivism means it's a method of theory building. This is a separate topic, separate question, separate and answer. Okay, now understanding from the facts you build the theory. Deductivism, make the hypothesis first theory, then prove it. That is subjective. This is more of objective. Bias you don't have a bias when you make the theory. Okay, next paragraph. So now science is understood more in terms of body of knowledge. That any body of knowledge, if it gives universal law, if it conforms to the ideals of empiricism and inductivism, it is considered as science. But later, it is in terms of method of inquiry, how it is studied. Subsequently, with the intellectual development, this underline cheyana, yield universal laws, empiricism, inductivism underlines here. Subsequently, with the intellectual development, the conception of science underwent change. The conception of science underwent change. Gradually, science came to be understood. More in terms of method of inquiry rather than body of knowledge. Method of inquiry rather than body of knowledge. Underline that. More in terms of method of inquiry rather than body of knowledge. So what you understood from this? So two ways we consider something as scientific. As per initial understanding, if I need to consider something as scientific, it should be a body of knowledge which have to give you universal laws. It have to be empirical and inductive. If that is the definition of science, we don't have even a scope for argument. Sociology is never going to be science. We cannot argue because we are not following inductive completely. We are not focusing on empirical reality. Second understanding, what is that? More in terms of method of inquiry. If method of inquiry is scientific, how you study your subject matter is scientific. If it is based on reason, if it is based on evidence, if it is logically made conclusion, then we can consider it as scientific, means then there is a scope for argument at least. Otherwise the debate is closed there itself. Now we are going to go for a debate because of the second understanding of science. Cool? Okay, proceed. Rather than body of knowledge, okay. Right, science was defined as any systematic study. Science was defined as any systematic study based on evidence and reason. Any systematic study based on evidence and reason. Underline evidence and reason. Systematic study based on evidence and reason. It assumes that if explanations are given in a logical, systematic and reasoned manner, they must be considered as scientific. If explanations are given in a logical, systematic and reasoned manner, R-E-A-S-O-N-E-D, reasoned manner, that must be considered scientific. Okay, so if it is based on evidence and reason, and explanations are given in a scientific manner, reasoned manner, based on evidence, based on logic, based on reason, it should be considered as scientific. So, sociology follow that? Yes. Right? If we are giving explanation in a reasoned manner, based on evidence, based on logic, based on objectivity to an extent possible, etc. Right, 4 conditions were laid down. So 4 and some conditions. 4 important ones are given. There can be reliability, there can be validity, there can be predictability. Then I need to explain also. Predictability means, in the beginning itself I told you, sociology emerged at that time for explaining the problems, providing solutions, and also to predict the future. So science can predict. So here, if I want, I can add one more condition. So there are many. Reliability is also one condition, prediction is also one condition, testing is also another condition. I can add a couple of conditions if I want. Testability, predictability. But this 4 is more important, that's why I've taken this. Okay, right. Some conditions of science were laid down. So when you're writing your answer, you should not miss this 4. Definitely you cannot miss this 4. Rest of the 2, if you remember, you can write. First one, inter-subject reliability. Underline that and then write. It means that concepts framed by any body of knowledge should have the same meaning for different people. That is, the concepts should be defined precisely. See, don't skip to online till thinkers, complete till thinkers, and then you can attend on. Even I also skip to, then we will mix to online, offline, because that is more comfortable for me also. Why I'm taking this even after this time also, after a lot of work I'm doing this. At least till thinkers, there are a lot of things that you'll get from the actual classroom. Writing itself is very important. At least thinkers, you'll get that familiarity. If you write only, and if you come across these words only, if you attend online, that won't come. Deviations will be there. Okay, so at least till thinkers, it has to be straight, direct. After thinkers, even I also skip like that only. One online, one offline, that's how we will complete it. So till thinkers, maybe it will take 30 sessions. Okay. Objectivity, next one. Okay, objectivity. Under that you write, there should be a possibility of undertaking investigation without personal biases or preconception. or preconceptions. Preconceptions എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മുടെ ഉള്ളിൽ ഓൾറെഡി ഉള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ, ബയസ്, പേഴ്സണൽ ബയസ്. തേർഡ് വൺ, quantifiability. Right under that, it should be possible to observe things. It should be possible to observe things in a quantifiable manner, that is the scope of the subject matter. The scope of the subject matter should be defined clearly. Should be defined clearly. Should be defined clearly. Okay, next one, theoretical orientation. Theoretical orientation no, theory building no, universal laws no, എങ്ങനെ വേണമെങ്കിലും എഴുതാം നിങ്ങൾക്ക്. റൈറ്റ് theoretical orientation. Under that, right, the body of knowledge must be capable of generating theories, full stop. Mere collection of data, mere collection of facts or data cannot be called as science. Mere collection of facts or data cannot be called as science. There must be some possibility of generalization. There must be some possibility of generalization. Okay, now guys, mostly they will ask you this question, 20 marker, but they can ask you sociology as science, is sociology science, as a 10 marker also. In that context also you'll have to write all these things, but there when you're writing these 4 conditions, so here what we are doing is we are explaining this 4 condition and then we are separately writing arguments for, separately writing arguments against, and then we'll go for a conclusion. But if it is a 10 marker, when you're writing intersubject reliability, you explain in one line what is intersubject reliability, that across the subject the meaning should be same. For example, sociology have the same meaning across the subject. So sociology possesses considerable intersubject reliability. There itself you need to write the arguments for. Got it? Because you don't get that time or space to write it separately. Similarly, when you're writing quantifiability, you write one line about quantifiability, there itself you'll be writing argument for. So that 4 sentence there together, you need to write it together. And in one paragraph quickly we will write. We don't want too much argument against, because ultimately our conclusion is what? We are not going against it, right? We just need to become slightly neutral to show that we are also objective when we are writing. We will write couple of negatives, argument against, but our objective is not to write too much argument against. Ultimately we are going to say sociology is scientific only. Correct? So towards the end we'll write some small paragraph. There are arguments against. For example, absolute objectivity is not possible. For example, theories are not universally applicable. Simply you can write that. So that is how a 20 marker you will convert to a 10 marker. When it comes to 10 marker, you cannot write like this. What is science? What are the 4 argument conditions? What are arguments for? You can never write like this. So then you need to mix it. Okay? So if you need to do that, what you need to have ultimately? A complete understanding of the 360-degree understanding of the topic is what required. If you know it, then you can write it. I can tell this in one paragraph also. Entire story I can tell in one paragraph. I can take 2 sessions also to explain this. Why? Because you have the stuff. So you need to know that thing. And it is easy, this much is enough. With that itself, you can make it 500 words, you can make it 50 words also. That's the understanding I want you to have. Cool, write the arguments in favor. Arguments in favor. As a body of knowledge, sociology is considered a scientific discipline. Sociology is considered a scientific discipline on the basis of following arguments. On the basis of following arguments. First one, there is a considerable inter-subject reliability. So we always use a neutral word. Have you observed this? I'm not saying complete inter-subject reliability. I'm not saying complete objectivity. I'm not saying it is fully quantifiable. Even when I'm talking about inter-subject reliability, still I am using very carefully what? Considerable amount of inter-subject reliability. Okay? So, write that. There is a considerable inter-subject reliability in the concepts framed by sociology. The concepts framed by sociology. A considerable amount of inter-subject reliability in the concepts framed by sociology. In the concepts framed by sociology. For example, the concepts like family, religion, groups, etc. Family, religion, groups, etc. are defined precisely and have the same meaning for all. Next point. Social objects or phenomena can be observed in a concrete form, through proper description using case studies. For example, various phenomena like social groups, social institutions have been quantified clearly. Bracket lo ediko marriage, family, etc. When I say marriage, is that quantified? Is that scope was defined very clearly? Yes. Right? Family? Yes. The addition, if you can write, Emile Durkheim. Continuation adi thaneyana, quantifiability ആണ് നമ്മൾ എഴുതുന്നത്. So write Emile Durkheim, Emile Durkheim, Emile Durkheim, while defining the scope of sociology. Emile Durkheim, how he defines scope of sociology? Durkheim, social facts, synthetic school. Weber, social action, formal school. Okay, so Emile Durkheim, while defining the scope of sociology, tried to quantify even the extreme abstract forms, while he defining scope of sociology, tried to quantify even the extreme abstract form in his theory of social facts. Okay, എന്തുപറ്റി? പേരെന്താ? അനീഷേ. തൻ്റെ പേരെന്താ? ഓക്കെ, നെക്സ്റ്റ് ഒബ്ജക്റ്റിവിറ്റി എഴുതാം നമുക്ക്. Quantifiability, intersubject reliability is done. Next is objectivity. So where you will write, you will say absolute objectivity is neither desirable nor possible, but we try to ensure maximum possible objectivity. How? With proper methods. Our method alla ningal padikum with proper training of investigator. So not a random person is going to study, right? It is a trained sociologist who is going to study. So the way you conduct an analysis or you write an answer, I write an answer, will be entirely different in sociology at this point, because that expertise is there. So there will be more objectivity here for a trained investigator, right? So that way, right? Although absolute objectivity is not possible in sociology. Although absolute objectivity is not possible, but sociology has ensured objectivity. By using scientific methods and proper training of investigators. Now guys, you will learn a lot of methods. That in itself is a question. Weber, when we discuss 3-4 methods, Durkheim, when we discuss 3-4 methods, right? If it is required, then that time you can add here as example. Right, trained investigator and all those things we'll learn. But will you get space again? No, whatever we have written now, that itself, what you need to do is you just need to maximum comprehend. This is what you need to do. Beyond that, you don't want to do for this particular topic. There may be a topic where you need to broaden your horizon. But these topics, these are fixed. There is nothing you can add. Common sense and sociology, yesterday's topic, is there anything to add from your side? From any texts? No. Similarly here, we define what is science, what are the conditions, arguments for, arguments against. What more you can add from here beyond this? You cannot do anything. So these topics, don't just waste your time by running behind so many sources. This itself, try to do your best. Okay? Next. Now we need to talk about this theory. Sociology has developed theories. Which have considerable applicability in number of situations. Okay, although there is an apprehension regarding the success of universal theories, still the subject matter of sociology Although there is an apprehension regarding the success of universal theories, still the subject matter of sociology is capable of yielding some theories. For example, Karl Marx's theory of historical materialism. We are going to study this theory, okay? That's why I've taken this, so that you will remember. Karl Marx theory of historical materialism, this Emile Durkheim theory of division of labor, Weber's theory of capitalism, Mead, M-E-A-D, Mead's theory of self, M-E-A-D, self, S-E-L-F, Mead's theory of self. It's a beautiful theory actually, that explains your personality, everything. It's not a sociological theory, actually a kind of psychological theory. We'll be coming to that. So Mead's theory of self, etc. have wider acceptance and are widely applicable. Wider acceptance and are widely applicable. We'll also write one for testing also. Okay, next sentence. About any conditions testing add testing also. Testing and prediction both you can add. Because you don't want explanation for testing. What is testing? You have developed a theory and you will go for a testing. Okay, now sociology, is it testing possible? You will say the entire society is a testing ground for sociologists. That is one thing that you can say. But when it comes to the objections or limitations, you will say there are obvious limitations also, because when we talk about marriage, we cannot keep on testing that, right? Similarly, when we talk about religious conflicts, there is no such possibility of testing all these things. So there are situations in society where the theories can be tested, but there are situations where the theories cannot be tested also. There are limitations also. So here we'll write in favor, later we'll write objection, right? Sociology uses methods. And the whole society, W-H-O-L-E, entire society, the whole society as a testing ground for a sociologist. As a testing ground for sociologist. Thus, sociology witnesses a large number of similar situations, in which theories can be tested. Okay, so we are done with the arguments 4. Now we'll write in one paragraph arguments against. So we'll summarize it and we'll write it. There is no need to separately write one by one. Write arguments against. Write a small heading at arguments against sociology being science, or limitations, or slash it at limitations. Arguments against, no, limitations, no. Limitations of sociology being science. Or arguments against sociology being science, whatever you want. Or arguments or limitations for sociology being science, whatever you want. Okay, right. In terms of sociology being similar to natural sciences, in terms of sociology being similar to natural sciences. There may be number of limitations. There may be number of limitations. Like there may be number of limitations like limits to empirical testability, and universal theories, So നമ്മൾ basically testability limit ഉണ്ട്, universal theory limit ഉണ്ടെന്ന് basically അവിടെ പറയാണ് ചെയ്തത്. കാരണം you cannot apply the theories which is made in sociology universally. Other further, if we need to keep explaining, we need to explain. Societies are different, individuals are different, the culture is different, even climate is in all dimensions we need to explain. But you will never get any chance to write that. If you write that, then you are compromising on some better points. You don't want to do that. This one sentence is enough. There is a limit for testability. The examiner is understood. When I say there is a limit to testability means കണ്ട എല്ലായിടത്തും പോയിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ടെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല എന്നാണ് നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നത്. അതുപോലെ എല്ലാം നമുക്ക് യൂണിവേഴ്സലി അപ്ലിക്കബിൾ ഒന്നുമല്ല. ഒരാൾ ഒരു തിയറി ഉണ്ടാക്കി ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് നോട്ട് യൂണിവേഴ്സലി അപ്ലിക്കബിൾ എന്നാണ് നമ്മളവിടെ പറയുന്നത്. കൂൾ. നെക്സ്റ്റ്, absolute objectivity as desirable. ഏതിൽ ഡിസൈറബിൾ? സയൻസിൽ ഡിസൈറബിൾ. ഓക്കെ, സോഷ്യോളജിയിലല്ല കേട്ടോ. സോഷ്യോളജിയിലാണ് ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ what did I say? Absolute objectivity is neither possible nor desirable എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. But now we are writing സയൻസിൽ so absolute objectivity complete. When it comes to science, absolute objectivity is required. Whether it is physics or chemistry or biology, absolute objectivity is desirable, required. So that is what we are saying here. Absolute objectivity as desirable in science is not possible in sociology. Right. Absolute objectivity as desirable in science is not possible in sociology. Comma. At the same time, there are obvious limitations. On experimentation in sociology. Okay, next sentence. Apart from this, sociological investigation sometimes generate controversies related to vagueness in concept. vague V-A-G-U-E, vagueness in concept. Your concepts and all these are vague, too general എന്നുള്ള രീതിയിൽ. Vagueness in concepts, comma, variations in social phenomena means different society, different culture, social phenomena will be different. Variations in social phenomena, comma, unpredictable nature of human beings, etc. Okay, now what we need? We need a balanced conclusion. So now listen to me very carefully. In conclusion, what we are going to say is, we are not saying sociology is similar to natural science, right? That is very clear. We are also saying that sociology is science. So how we are going to frame that? Sociology, because of the method of inquiry, since it is conducted in scientific way, right? and more rational way, reasoned manner, based on logic and evidence, sociology should be treated as science. So sociology is a scientific discipline, but it's not similar to natural science. Fine, that's one line. And then you will say the difference between natural science and sociology in one line. Sociology studies human beings who have consciousness and the behavior of which cannot be predicted. So you are studying me, and the behavior of me cannot be predicted in terms of cause and effect. So there is a probability problem of testing, there is a probable problem of theory building, there is a problem of universal application, there is a problem of testing and all these, because you are studying human being. But science, on the other hand, study matter which do not have consciousness, whose behavior can be predicted in terms of cause and effect. So what is the difference? Difference is in the subject matter. Sociology study human being, you cannot predict. You cannot establish universal theories. There is a limitation. But science studies matter which do not have consciousness. There is a possibility of universal theories. There is a possibility of cause and effect and everything. So this is a basic difference. But still, considering the fact that you are trying to ensure objectivity, to an extent you have quantified, intersubject reliability is there. Because of this, you can consider it as scientific, but not similar to natural science. Therefore, sociology is a social science. Right. Next paragraph. In this context, it is acknowledged that. So from here onwards, the difficulty levels slightly start increasing. So first three topics is very simple. Slightly it will increase, but again, let me tell you, compared to any other subjects, this is the easiest. Still, it's very comfortable only. Okay, in this context, it is acknowledged that sociology is not a science. Sociology is not a science similar to natural science. Sociology is not a science similar to natural science. Underline cheyanadella. Idana ഏറ്റവും important ആയിട്ടുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ. These are most important things that we are writing in our answer. Sociology is not a science similar to natural science, but it is science in itself. It is science in itself. Underline that, science in itself. So what we are saying, it's not a science similar to physics, chemistry, biology, but sociology is a science in itself. Then we explain the difference between these two. One studies matter, no consciousness. We study human beings who have consciousness. Okay, write that also. Difference in this nature of sociology. Difference in this nature of sociology draws from its basic subject matter. Its basic subject matter, comma, the ultimate reducible element of which is an individual. Full stop. According to Max Weber, natural science study in the matter, right in inverted comma, natural science study matter, M-A-T-T-E-R. Okay, matter matram in the single inverted comma. Natural science study matter which do not have any consciousness, and the behavior can be predicted objectively in terms of cause and effect. Behavior can be predicted objectively in terms of cause and effect. On the other hand, sociology studies human beings. and the behavior of which cannot be predicted, and thus exact laws are not possible. Full sentence underline according to Max Weber. What is subject matter of this and that? Full sentence important aanu. You will quote a sentence. Okay? Science in the question conclusion 20 mark must have to quote. 10 mark rest of the areas are more important. Okay, according to him, sociology is a scientific discipline. According to him, sociology is a scientific discipline as it can study its subject matter, by use of scientific methodology. Thus, sociology is a what? Sociology is a social science. Single inverted comma underline cheya. Sociology is a social science. What line would I do? Moreover, famous statement by Karl Popper, Karl Popper, Karl Popper, further proof sociology to be a scientific discipline. Statement inverted comma with that we can conclude. So we are concluding the answer with a statement itself by a thinker. Okay, now see, this statement is what we have actually written in the beginning in terms of understanding of science. First, science is understood how? In terms of body of knowledge. Later, science is understood how? In terms of method of inquiry. Actually. Okay, right. Inverted comma. Science is not a body of knowledge. Science is not a body of knowledge, but a method of studying a phenomena. So now the question is not what, the question is how it is studied, not what it is studied. Right? So we are done with this topic. Need to have a complete understanding of this. They'll ask you in any way, should be in a position to write the same only. You will only face problem in the compression part. Because where you are going to compress here? You need to tell what is science. You need to tell about initial part, that intro definitely. You need to tell all these 4, 5. Briefly, you need to explain this. You need to tell what arguments for, arguments against. You have to write the conclusion also. Now the question is, if it is a 10 marker, how you are going to present that in 150 words? That's the big issue. So you will be lucky if you get this question as 20 marker, because the content is very good, right? And you will remember the content also here. There is no problem you will face, especially for this topic, because everything is crystal clear. So these kind of questions, always it is better if you get the question, straight away jump onto that. Is content wise you are superb, and you'll write also very good, these kind of questions. And that's the beauty of second chapter. If you ask me which chapter is difficult, as a beginner you'll find it difficult. But the beauty is that if you understood, if you write it, if you present it well, maximum mark you will get it in the second chapter and the thinkers chapter. Any questions, guys? We can discuss. Then സബ്ജക്റ്റീവ് ഒന്നുമില്ല. എനിക്ക് പേഴ്സണൽ ബയസ് ഉണ്ടാകുന്നു, ഞാൻ ഒരാളെ ഫേവർ ചെയ്യുന്നു, ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് സബ്ജക്റ്റീവ്. ഇപ്പം ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞ മാതിരി അവിടുത്തെ ആക്സിഡൻറ്റ് ഉണ്ടാകുന്നത് എനിക്കൊരു പേഴ്സണൽ ആക്സിഡൻറ്റ് ഉണ്ടായി, ഞാൻ ചിലപ്പം ഡ്രങ്ക് ആൻഡ് ഡ്രൈവ് ആയിരുന്നിരിക്കും. സോ ഐ വിൽ നെവർ സപ്പോർട്ട് ഡ്രങ്ക് ആൻഡ് ഡ്രൈവ്. ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് പ്രോബ്ലം ഓഫ് അതർ പേഴ്സൺ. ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് പേഴ്സണൽ ബയസ്. Basically, I might be causing that accident, but because of me involved in that, what will happen? I won't tell that. I'll tell some other reason. So if I am someone studying, my personal biases will come. Otherwise, see, it's not only in this. So a Hindu, for example, a Hindu person is studying religion as a whole, will be biased against Muslims. Similarly, Muslims studying religion as a whole, biased against Hindus. അവരുടേതായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഇതുണ്ടാവും, ചാൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. അതാണ് ഞാൻ നേരത്തെ പറഞ്ഞ ഹിസ്റ്റോറിയൻസ് ആണെങ്കിൽ പോലും ആ ഒരു ബയസ് ഉണ്ട്. എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് നോർത്ത് ഇന്ത്യൻ ഡോമിനേറ്റഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ളത്? അവരാണ് കൂടുതൽ ഹിസ്റ്ററി എഴുതിയത്. സൗത്ത് ഇന്ത്യൻസിനെ കംപ്ലീറ്റ്ലി നെഗ്ലക്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഹിസ്റ്ററി പഠിച്ചു വരുമ്പോൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അത് മനസ്സിലാവും. അതാണ് ബയസ് എന്നത്, അതാണ് സബ്ജക്റ്റിവിറ്റി. സോ സോഷ്യോളജിയിൽ നിങ്ങളുടെ ഒബ്ജക്റ്റീവ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ പ്രിലിംസ് പോലെ, സി ഐ വുഡ് സേ വെൻ ഇറ്റ് കംസ് ടു പ്രിലിംസ് യു റീഡ് 5 ബുക്ക് 1 ടൈം. കാരണം കുറേ വായിക്കണം. മാക്സിമം പല സ്ഥലങ്ങളിൽ നിന്ന് ഓർത്തിരിക്കുന്നത് നിങ്ങൾ എലിമിനേഷന് ഹെൽപ്പ് ചെയ്യും. ബട്ട് വെൻ ഇറ്റ് കംസ് ടു സോഷ്യോളജി, റീഡ് 1 ബുക്ക് 5 ടൈംസ്. നമ്മൾ കോഴ്സ് കംപ്ലീറ്റ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ഇതുപോലത്തെ ഒരു 4 ബുക്ക്ലെറ്റ്സ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഉണ്ടാവും. അത് തന്നെ കംപ്രസ് ചെയ്ത് അതിൽ നിന്ന് ഷോർട്ട് നോട്ട് ഉണ്ടാക്കി, അതിൽ നിന്ന് കീവേഡ്സ് ഉണ്ടാക്കി, അത് തന്നെ മൾട്ടിപ്പിൾ റിവിഷൻ ചെയ്ത് ഈച്ച് ആൻഡ് എവറി ലൈൻ നിങ്ങളുടെ മൈൻഡിൽ പ്രിൻറ്റഡ് ആയിരിക്കണം. അതുകൊണ്ട് കൂടുതൽ റിസോഴ്സിൻ്റെ പുറകെ പോവേ ചെയ്യരുത്. സോഷ്യോളജി ഒരിക്കലും വർക്കൗട്ട് ചെയ്യാത്ത സ്ട്രാറ്റജിയാണത്. യു വിൽ ഓൺലി ഹാവ് എ ലിമിറ്റഡ് ടൈം. പാർവതി ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ട് ആയിരിക്കും, കാരണം ഫസ്റ്റ് ഓറിയൻറ്റേഷൻ ഇല്ലാത്തതുകൊണ്ട്. ബട്ട് ഒരു പോയി കഴിയുമ്പം ശരിയായിക്കോളും. ബാക്ക്ഗ്രൗണ്ട് എന്താ? ഓക്കെ, സിവിൽ എഞ്ചിനീയറിംഗിൽ പറഞ്ഞത്. ആദ്യമായിട്ടിരിക്കുന്നതാണോ? അപ്പം ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ടായിരിക്കും ഫസ്റ്റ് ഇരിക്കുന്നതാണെങ്കിൽ. നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ഏതെങ്കിലും ഏരിയ മനസ്സിലാവാത്തതുണ്ടെന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അതിൻ്റെ വീഡിയോസ് ഞാനിപ്പം നൗ ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് നോട്ട് അപ്ലോഡഡ് ഇൻ ദ പോർട്ടൽ, ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് ദെയർ ഇൻ ദ യൂട്യൂബ്. പോർട്ടലിൽ 2 ദിവസം കഴിയുമ്പോഴായിരിക്കും നിങ്ങൾക്ക് വരുന്നത്. അതിൻ്റെ ആക്സസ് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് തരും. ഞാൻ ഗ്രൂപ്പിൽ 2 ദിവസം കഴിയുമ്പോൾ ആഡ് ചെയ്യാം. ആൻഡ് ദെൻ എനി ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് യു ക്യാൻ ആസ്ക് ദെയർ. ആ ഒരു കൈൻഡ് ഓഫ് അറേഞ്ച്മെൻറ്റ് നമുക്ക് എന്തെങ്കിലും ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുമോ നോക്കാം. അങ്ങനെ വരുമ്പോൾ ഈ കൺഫ്യൂഷൻ ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. ഐ എം ആക്ച്വലി ഗെറ്റിംഗ് കൺഫ്യൂസ് 3 o'clock or 3:30. വി വിൽ ഫിക്സ് അറ്റ് 3:30. ദാറ്റ് വിൽ ബി കൺവീനിയൻറ്റ് ബിക്കോസ് ഐ വിൽ ബി ഫ്രീ ആക്ച്വലി ആഫ്റ്റർ 3:30. അറ്റ്ലീസ്റ്റ് 3:15 ശേഷം ഫ്രീ ആവുള്ളൂ. അപ്പം 3:30 വിൽ ഫിക്സ്. സ്റ്റോപ്പ് ചെയ്യാം. ഓക്കെ, സീ യു ടുമോറോ 3:30.